As one walks through a forest, one can observe how much the bark of different species of trees can vary. In winter, obviously, using bark to identify the type of tree is more important once deciduous leaves have fallen. Why does bark have such distinct variable features? Part of this is based on how a tree will grow. Inside the bark, there are living cells which are expanding, and there is a type of meristem tissue, a cork cambium, which then can produce the cells which contribute to the bark, which in itself has multiple layers. Having different types of bark can have advantages and disadvantages for the tree. So, for example, smooth bark makes it harder for insects to walk upon. Insects do not have crevices that they can hide within, so there are fewer insects which would find the bark a habitat. And then lichens, mosses, plants, fungi which would grow on the tree trunk called epiphytes would also find it more difficult to anchor themselves. There are disadvantages to smooth bark. Smooth bark grows more slowly. When the bark grows more quickly, that's the cause of some of the cracks that one can see. Also, it would offer less protection from fire. Many trees with smooth bark have more lenticels than do trees with thick, rough bark. Lenticels are openings through which gases can be exchanged. So there are living cells within the bark of a tree. Living cells perform respiration. They need oxygen and they release carbon dioxide as a waste. And some can perform photosynthesis, in which they need carbon dioxide and release oxygen as a waste. These gases need to be exchanged, and so the presence of lenticels helps gas exchange for the living cells just inside the bark. If bark is thin, it might allow cells to actually perform photosynthesis. In some trees, this is more important than in others. So, for example, quaking aspens and in striped maples, the bark has a greenish hue and photosynthesis occurs there, which is more important in winter after the leaves have dropped. Light-colored bark can reflect light and thus limit the amount of heat that a tree is exposed to. Extreme temperatures can damage or even kill the cells of a tree. And this is especially dangerous in winter where there's extreme cold, but sunlight could be striking the bark of trees which are at the edges of clearings or bodies of water. And so the bark of trees which can grow in more open areas, such as some birches and aspens, are often more light colored. Some trees have bark that peels. Now, this may be a function of how the tree grows, causing the bark to split, but there are advantages, such as this would make it more difficult for epiphytes to attach to the trunk, like plants, fungi, lichens, and the like. This is particularly important in moist environments, so river birch and yellow birch and sycamore have this trait, but it can also be found in forest species such as shagbark hickory famously, named for the shaggy bark which attaches in the middle but then starts to peel away from the ends. There are advantages to possessing thick bark. Bark obviously can serve as some protection against the living cells inside. The outer bark layers are dead. And so this protects from biotic organisms which might try to pierce the outer layers to suck sap. It serves as a protection from biotic stress, also from fire, also from thermal protection. The dead cells there act as insulation so that the inner bark does not warm or cool too quickly. This bark can crack, meaning that it can then grow more quickly because the cracks allow it to expand, which allows the tree to heal wounds faster. Obviously, environments vary, so the protection that thick bark offers against fire is far more important where fires are more common and a greater danger. Thick bark also has disadvantages. It makes it easier for things to attach to the trees, which might at a certain point produce such a weight that it would cause branches to break or block photosynthesis. It would provide footholds for insects to move and habitat for insects to hide, which might then encourage their infection of the tree. Thick bark cannot perform photosynthesis, so this might limit the energy that trees can generate. And it is harder for lenticels, which are present in thick bark, to perform gas exchange. There are often fewer of them.